Grayson, if you want to start with a I'll just look at you to acknowledge you. Do you guys have any questions before we go ahead and start? Okay, go ahead, toss up one. This politician coined the term vast right-wing conspiracy. The Harry and Louise ad advocated a universal health care law named for this non-Obama politician. Citizens United versus FEC was based on a movie titled This Person, the Movie. Anthony Weiner's ex-wife, Huma Abedin, works for this politician. Green 2? What?
Bill Clinton.
Incorrect. Next 5. During a campaign, this politician claimed to hammer on the glass ceiling and cry at a cafe in New Hampshire. This author of the memoir, Hard Choices, used her own email server to receive classified messages.
Hillary.
Correct. So that's 10 on the toss-up. Your bonus. A pair of sculptures made out of this material are simply dubbed the Youth and the Elder. 10 points each. Name this material used to depict Erasmo de Narni and his horse in Guatemala. St. Petersburg is home to an Etienne Falconet sculpture of a horseman made of this material.
Marble.
Incorrect. Bronze. Guatemala is by this Italian Renaissance sculptor who also made a bronze statue of David.
Donatello.
Correct. Donatello's David is a classic example of this technique in which a statue appears to have its weight unequally balanced between 2 feet. Myron's bronze discus thrower also exemplifies this technique. Answer? Contrapposto. So that's 10 on the bonus. Toss up 2. A pope of this name held office during World War I. A man with this first name differentiated between a Cenobite and a hermit and argued that the central rule should be ora et labora, or pray and work. John Paul II declared a saint with this name from Nursia was the patron saint of Europe. That saint with this name provided guidelines for monks in his namesake rule. A pope of this name permitted the Tridentine Mass, but controversially declared that prophylactics increased the spread of AIDS, shocking many with this conservatism. For 10 points, give this name of the pope who suddenly resigned office in 2013.
Benedict.
Correct. Your bonus. This story ends on a cliffhanger with the protagonist watching a cigarette carton burn in a fire. For 10 points each. Name the story by Daphne du Maurier in which Nat Hawken and his boss, Mr. Trigg, are tormented inside a farmhouse in Cornwall for days after their neighbors are all gruesomely killed.
Rebecca.
The Birds. The British horror story has its origins in this epistolary novel written by Mary Shelley.
Yeah. Frankenstein.
Correct. This British author wrote a horror story titled The Lifted Veil, but she's probably better known for a novel whose main protagonists include Tertius Lydgate and Dorothea Brooke.
Georgia Lake.
Correct. 20 on the bonus. Toss up 3. This director built a centrifuge for a scene in which the camera follows under a man jogging in a circular room. One of this man's films begin with a shot of various
Stanley Kubrick.
power. Your bonus. This civilization held events which were commonly referred to as virae publicae, and which sometimes included ludi or games. For 10 points each. Name this great civilization which held the Lupercalia festival to celebrate where Romulus and Remus were nursed by the she-wolf.
Rome.
Correct. The December festival celebrating crop growth and the winter solstice were named for this Roman god. The temple for his god in the Roman Forum stood near the arch of Septimius Severus. Answer?
Jupiter.
Saturn. Scandal surrounded this popularist when he attempted to disguise himself as a woman to enter the female-only Bona Dea festival. Cicero gave the pro-Malone speech to defend a man from charges of murdering this politician. Answer?
Julius Caesar.
Clodius. So that's 10 on the bonus. Toss up 4. This structure contains pentaglycine and D-alanine bridges. The first elucidated enzyme mechanism was for a protein discovered in egg white that destroys this structure. This structure is targeted by drugs with 4 member rings containing nitrogen and sulfur. Lysozyme hydrolyzes NAG and NAM in it. When this structure is thick, crystal violet won't wash out of it. Beta-lactam antibiotics destroy this structure. The amount of peptidoglycan in this structure distinguishes gram-positive and gram-negative. Green 1.
Cell wall.
Correct. Your bonus. This quantity replaces the reaction quotient in the Nernst equation for a SHE cell. For 10 points each, name this quantity which is estimated qualitatively for a solution using a mixture containing methyl red, methyl yellow, thymol blue, and bromothymol blue.
pH.
Correct. Quantitative measurements of pH are used in this potentiometric form of this technique. This technique determines the concentration of an unknown acid or base using a known volume of a known concentration liquid. Correct. The reference electrode in a pH meter is almost always made of this opaque white chloride compound. Like mercury and lead chloride, it is famously insoluble in water.
Silver chloride.
It's 30 on the bonus. Toss up 5. A novel by this author alternates newspaper clippings with a story within a story within a story about the Zicronians. In that novel, this author described 2 daughters of a button factory magnate in Avignon, one of whom marries Richard Griffin, and the other of whom drives off a bridge. Another novel by this author, framed as a series of cassette tapes, mentions a wall on which the eyes of God hang dissidents. This author wrote about Laura and Iris Chase in The Blind Assassin.
Evelyn.
Correct. Bonus. Like any good Quiz Bowl player, Odin would do pretty much anything for knowledge. For 10 points each. To learn the runes, Odin stabbed himself with a spear and hanged himself from this object for 9 days. Odin also donated an eye to drink from Mimir's well, which was located underneath this world tree. He also learned how to speak to Hugin and Munin, 2 of these pet animals who provide him tidings of the world.
Ravens.
Odin disguised himself as a snake, then sweet-talked Gunlod in order to acquire some of this substance, which legendarily turned anyone who consumed it into a bard. This substance was made from Kvasir's blood.
Like poet's meat. Poet's meat.
Correct, you just need mead. So that's 30 on the bonus. Toss up 6. This team's current coach served as the coach of the New York Jets twice without ever coaching a game. This team made its first Super Bowl behind Irving Freyar, but lost to William Perry and the Chicago Bears. This team's Snow Bowl game against the Oakland Raiders in 2002 involved the most high-profile application of the tuck rule. Since drafting a player from Michigan in 2000, this team has won 4 Super Bowls, including one in which...
New England Patriots.
Correct. Your bonus. After singing this phrase and laughing hysterically, a character explains that unless you carry on like a hyena, you're not having fun. 10 points each. Name this question, which, in the last line of the play, is frankly answered, I am, George, I am.
No, who's afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Correct. This character admits to being absolutely terrified of Virginia Woolf at the end of the play by Edward Albee. In a pretty obvious historical reference, she's married to George.
Honey.
Martha. Inexperienced readers ought to be afraid of Virginia Woolf too, since she often employs this convoluted device in which a narrator describes his or her disorganized feelings. James Joyce pioneered this narrative style.
Stream of consciousness.
20 on the bonus. Toss up 6. Eugene Terre Blanche founded the AWB in this country in the 70s. The sociology professor who served as this nation's president was assassinated in 1966. The League of Nations Covenant was largely written by the country's World War II Prime Minister, John Smuts. Neg 5. A Truth and Reconciliation Committee in this country looked into the beating of Steve Biko. It established Bantu stands. This country's reformist leader, P.W. Botha, lost power after a stroke and was replaced by F.W. de Klerk. It suffered the Sharpeville Massacre in 1960. A one-time inmate at Robben Island was elected president of his country in 1994. For 10 points, name this home of Nelson Mandela. 4.
South Africa.
Correct. Your bonus. Answer some questions about unique media used in the pop art movement for 10 points each. In a quintessential pop art series, Andy Warhol created 32 canvases with these items on them with a different flavor on each canvas.
Campbell soup can.
Correct. Jasper Johns created one of these items using wax-based encaustic painting. One of these objects is at the center of Lutz's Washington crossing the Delaware.
Flag.
Prompt.
American flag.
Correct. Robert Indiana's stack design of the word love was first popularized in this medium before being sculpted in 1970. An early artwork in this medium is known as the penny black.
I don't know what sculpture, so.
Answer?
Wood,
A postage stamp. So that's 20 on the bonus. Toss up 8. The section of the Torah which describes this event is oddly written in 3 staggered columns. A song about this event begins, My Hamoka Ba Elim Adonai, and translate to, "Who is like you, O God?" After this event, a woman sings and dances with a tambourine. The pillars of cloud and fire clog the wheels of some chariots during it.
The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Neg 5. The final time that the Lord hardens Pharaoh's heart is in preparation for this event. Miriam sings a verse in Exodus 15 commemorating it. A man holds his staff up over the water during this event, which kills all the Egyptians. For 10 points, name this miracle in which Moses and the Israelites crossed a large body of water.
Party of the Red Sea.
Correct. Your bonus. This leader got transferred to the Canary Islands to keep him from launching a coup, a brilliant strategy that failed when he left the islands and launched a coup. For 10 points each, name this generalissimo of Spain who won the Spanish Civil War. Francisco Franco. Franco styled himself one of these authoritarian leaders from the Spanish for chief, borrowing a term used by many Latin American dictators in the 1800s. Answer? Caudillo. During the Spanish Civil War, Emilio Mola coined this term during the March on Madrid to explain how the nationalists would take the city. This phrase refers to the enemy sympathizers who undermined the city under siege. Fifth column, so that's 0 on the bonus. Toss-up 9. These interactions are modeled by a constant approximately equal to 1.748 over the nearest neighbor distance. In Pearson's theory, hard acids and bases interact in this way. The energy of this interaction is estimated in a Born-Haber cycle. Compounds forming these bonds have Van Hoff factors greater than 1. The lattice energy estimates the energy from these interactions. A difference greater than 1.7 on the Pauling scale indicates this type of bond. These bonds form between 2.
Island bond.
Correct. Your bonus. Name some classic examples of natural selection in the animal kingdom for 10 points each. This man discovered finches in the Galapagos Islands, which evolved different beak sizes to account for varying diets. He first described evolution by natural selection.
Darwin.
Yeah. In The Origin of Species, Darwin explains this animal's most notable physical feature could have evolved to help it find food. This animal is used by Lamarck as evidence for the inheritance of acquired characteristics. Answer?
Monkey.
Giraffe, or its neck. Another classical case of natural selection is the gradual darkening in color of this insect in response to the soot added to the air in England during the Industrial Revolution.
Moths.
Prompt.
Wood moth.
Peppered moth. So that's 10 on the bonus. That was really hard. Toss-up 10. 2 characters in this novel appear to balloon down to a white sofa when a window is closed. A chapter of this novel concludes, "The Holocaust was complete." This novel's closing line mentions boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into power. Bonus 10. This nation devalued its currency by 2% in August 2015 after its stock markets lost around 30% of their value in June and July. For 10 points each, name this country which pegged its currency, the yuan, to the dollar until 2005.
China.
Correct. China underwent the depreciation in hope that the yuan would join this organization's special drawing rights basket. This international organization loans money to member nations and promotes economic cooperation.
IMF.
Correct. Part 3. In 2012, Mitt Romney pledged to label China with this 2-word phrase because it has kept the yuan artificially low against the dollar. Twice a year, the Treasury Department considers whether or not to apply this label to China.
Legendation.
Currency manipulator. So that's 20 on the bonus. At the half, we're gonna do something. You have a score of 50 to 235. Is anybody keeping score as well? Or if you guys want to make a substitution, either team. We have 250. Yeah, we just added one.
I was listening here, I thought maybe I just listened.
No, you're fine. Do you guys want to make a substitution, anyone? Otherwise, we can just go ahead and start with the second half. Okay?
Mine.
Yes? You guys ready? We'll go ahead and start tossing seven. Robert of Clermont and Beatrice of Burgundy founded this dynasty. Its Italian branch was linked to the Parma and gained their kingdom of Etruria in the Treaty of Aranjuez. Gabriel d'Estrees convinced a king of this dynasty to renounce Protestantism. Conservative Democrats in the U.S. in the 1880s were named for this dynasty.
Brabant.
Power. Your bonus. Samuel Gompers served as president of this federation for 37 out of 38 consecutive years. For 10 points each, name this federation of labor unions less radical than its Knights of Labor predecessors, which merged with the CIO in 1955.
AFL.
Correct. The AFL scored a major victory in 1935 with the passage of the Wagner Act, which set up this independent government agency to resolve labor disputes. Answer? NLRB, National Labor Relations Board. The NLRB and AFL suffered a bigger setback, however, with the 1947 law named for this Ohio politician and Fred Hartley, which banned closed shops. This Ohio politician and son of a president was known as Mr. Republican.
Taft.
Correct. That's 20 on the bonus. Toss up 12. Giorgio Vasari wrongly claimed that this artist invented oil painting. A painting by this artist recovered by the Monuments Men was returned to St. Bavo Cathedral, minus 2 panels that were stolen in 19. Power. Bonus. Answer a volume about expansionary fiscal policy for 10 points each. Classically, the expansionary fiscal policy involves either increasing government spending as advocated by liberals or this action advocated by conservatives. Supply-siders usually advocate that the government should take this action.
Cut spending.
I'm going to say incorrect, cutting taxes.
Okay.
If you would like to
Yeah,
protest that or something, you can. Expansionary policy may increase incomes unless this unpleasant effect occurs due to a vertical LM curve. In this effect, adding money to the economy increases interest rates only because private spending goes down.
Deflation.
Crowding out. On the other hand, expansionary policy is very effective at drawing an economy out of a trap named for this quantity. For an asset, this term refers to how quickly you can sell it without sacrificing its value.
Liquidation.
Correct. That's 10 on the bonus. Toss up 13. A scale ranging from 0 cents to $1 measures the activity of these devices. Scram mechanisms are safety measures used with these devices. A fudge factor, literally called the fudge factor, is used to calculate their critical masses. The first of these devices was built on a squash court underneath the University of Chicago football.
Nuclear reactor.
Correct. Right out of power. Your bonus. After seeing a chalk mark made by Robert, this character marks off every house in the neighborhood with the same symbol. For 10 points each, name the slave woman who pours boiling oil into pots to kill 38 robbers and stabs Kogia Hassan to complete the killing of all 40 thieves.
Scheherazade.
Morgiana. Morgiana is the servant to this character who discovers a treasure after declaring open sesame at some rocks.
Aladdin.
What?
Aladdin.
Alibaba. The story of Alibaba and the 40 Thieves is told in this cycle, which consists of a bunch of tales like told by Scheherazade to stave off her execution. This collection also includes stories about Sinbad and Aladdin.
Arabian Nights.
Correct, so that's 10 on the bonus. It was no power. It was right after. Toss up 14. It is not Latin, but poetry in this language peaked during the Silver Age. Franz Kafka imitated a story written in this language in which a doctor spends 3 sleepless nights tending a patient. A short story written in this language is titled for a civil servant / madman who thinks he is the king of Spain. A Clark haunts a general after he is killed by ruffians trying to steal his coat in a story in this language. Isaac Babel wrote in this language. The sportsman's sketches are in
Russian.
Correct. Bonus. Examples of these statements include all quadrilaterals have 4 sides or all bodies take up space for 10 points each. Name these statements which have the predicate contained with the concept of the subject. These statements are always a priori, according to the Critique of Pure Reason, which contrasts them with synthetic statements.
Organic.
Analytic. This German Enlightenment thinker created the analytic-synthetic distinction and revolutionized philosophy in his 3 critiques.
Kant.
Correct. This philosopher's namesake Fork proposes that all statements are either analytic a priori or synthetic a posteriori, with no possibility for synthetic a priori. The skeptic allegedly woke Kant from his dogmatic slumber. You correct, 20 on the bonus. Toss up 15. In a method book considered this instrument's Bible, John Baptiste Urbain wrote a difficult set of variations on the folk song The Carnival of Venice. Johann Hummel's most lasting work is an E major concerto for this instrument, which plays an offstage solo in Respighi's Pines Rome.
Violin.
Neg 5. 3 of these valved instruments plays the opening melody of Copland's Fanfare for the Common Man. This instrument plays an ascending C-G-C pattern to introduce the nature motif in Richard Strauss's Also Sprach Zarathustra. For 10 points, name the smallest brass instrument, which has 3 valves and is related to the cornet and bugle.
Trumpet.
Correct. Your bonus. An arithmetic statement begins with this word is used exclusively in Fortran. For 10 points each, name this word which introduced a conditional block that is more common than a switch case statement. Answer?
No answer.
If. The expression after an if must evaluate to one of these 2 values. Boolean expressions take on these 2 values.
0 and 1.
Prompt. True and false. Similarly to if-then-else statements, these 2 keywords are used with the word finally in many languages for exception handling. Control blocks use these 2 keywords, throw exceptions to prevent undesired executions. Try and catch. So that's 0 in the bonus. Toss up 16. M.L. Hoffman proposed 4 stages of development of this feeling. Erik Erikson's 3rd stage of psychosexual development is initiative versus this feeling. Freud's superego punishes the ego and id with this feeling. Unlike Japan, the West's culture is shaped by this feeling, according to the chrysanthemum and the... correct. For bonus. In one of this composer's symphonies, the trombone starts a 3-note creator motif in its opening setting of the hymn Veni Creator Spiritus. 10 points each. Name this composer of the Song of the Earth, as well as the Titan and Resurrection symphonies.
Mahler.
Mahler didn't call the Song of the Earth a symphony for fear of succumbing to the curse of writing this many symphonies. He then died soon after writing his symphony officially designated with this number.
9.
The Symphony of Mahler immediately precedes the Tragic Symphony. Like the Tragic Symphony, this work has a section dedicated to Mahler's wife Alma, the 4th movement, Adagietto.
Resurrection.
5th. So that's 20 on the bonus. Toss up 17. This man led a unit nicknamed the Wolverines during the Valley campaigns, where he defeated Jubal early at the Battle of Cedar Creek. His forces won the Battle of Washita River. He testified to Congress in the Belknap affair and got accordingly rebuked by Ulysses Grant. This general lost the battle after refusing a Gatling gun and after... That is power. In 1971, the eastern part of this country declared its independence as Bangladesh. For 10 points each, name this longtime rival of India, which became the home of Indian Muslims after the partition. Pakistan's long dominant PPP political party was founded by Zulfikar Ali, a member of this family. A woman in this family served as prime minister for 2 terms in the late 80s and early 90s, but was assassinated in 2007. Correct. The PPP is opposed to by this other political party, which is a descendant of Muhammad Ali Jinnah's original party advocating independence of Pakistan. It is usually abbreviated in
The National Party.
Muslim League. So that's 20 on the bonus. Toss up 18. When input this number, the number of arrows in Knuth notation is independent of the output. This value is always next to last in a collapsed sequence. A classic proof by contradiction sets this value equal to p squared over q squared for integral p and q. This is the largest number n for which a to the n plus b to the n may equal c to the n for integral a, b, and c. Every large prime can be expressed as a sum of this many primes. The largest known primes, correct. Sigmund Freud was obsessed with this author's story, Colloquy of the Dogs, which is often considered one of the forerunners of psychoanalysis. For 10 points each, name this novelist. In a scene written by this author, a barber tries to burn down a library, but is stopped by a priest who reads the title of each book before it is burned and ends up saving a real-life novel by this author.
Too early.
Answer?
Boccaccio.
Cervantes.
Oh.
Soon after returning home to find his library burnt down, Don Quixote picks up this fat companion who joins the quest solely for a purpose of getting to rule his own land.
Sancho Panza.
Right after Sancho joins the fun, he has to stop Don Quixote from charging some of these objects, which he thinks are giants. They aren't.
Windmills.
Correct. 20 on the bonus. Toss up 19. This Greek deity lives underwater for years with Thetis and Eurynome. During the Trojan War, Hera sends this god to save Achilles from Scamander. A king of Athens was conceived by Gaia after this deity tried to rape Athena.
Zeus.
Next 5. Greek artists painted this god, drunk, getting dragged up a mountain on the back of a mule. He created Pandora's body and lived under a mountain on Sicily. This god once was literally kicked off Olympus. Correct. Your bonus. Camelback Mountain is in this city's wealthy suburb, Scottsdale. 10 points each. Name the seat of Maricopa County, the city where Frank Lloyd Wright made his winter home at Taliesin West. Answer?
Saratoga.
Phoenix. Phoenix is a few hours south of this landform carved out by the Colorado River near Flagstaff, Arizona.
Grand Canyon.
This city, which lies between Phoenix and Flagstaff, is famed for its red rock formations and its odd assortment of New Age spiritual movements. Answer?
No answer.
Sedona. So that's 10 on the bonus. Toss up 20 to last. This character vents at Ventidius before proclaiming, "The wretched have no friends," in John Dryden's All for Love. This character insists that the evil that men do lives after them, in a speech that repeatedly calls an enemy an honorable but ambitious man.
Brutus.
Next time. This friend of Enobarbus dies by stabbing himself after his attendant Eros cannot. He vows revenge in a speech culminating in the line, "Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war." This character also gives a funeral oration beginning, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears." For 10 points, name this lover of Cleopatra.
Mark Antony.
Correct. And your bonus last. The equivalence principle suggests that gravity can be considered this type of force. For 10 points each, name this type of force which exists only in a non-inertial reference frame.
Universal force.
A fictitious force, or a pseudo-force. This force, which is often used to explain how a bucket full of water doesn't empty out when it's hurled around in a circle, is fictitious. It acts outward, unlike the centripetal force.
Centrifugal.
Correct. And your last part. A principal name for this physicist states that a person's inertia is dependent upon interactions with all other masses in the universe. This physicist's namesake number, a ratio of speeds, determines if flow is compressible.
Ernst Mach.
Correct. So that was 20 on the bonus. And that's the end of the game. We have a final score of 110 to 405. Good job to both teams.